Welcome to Extra Literary Affairs, a LitFiction podcast. In this series, we're going to dive deeper into specific themes and topics that we can't fully explore in our main show. It's a space for us to unleash our creativity and discuss our ideas in more detail. Think of it as a companion to our main podcast. Just don't tell them about us. No need to make them jealous. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Extra Literary Affairs, a LitFiction podcast. Today I'm going to have another affair with Audre Lorde, because we are quickly becoming friends with Benz, apparently. Yes, I've spoken about Audre Lorde's work before, and she remains one of the most influential writers I've encountered. I've read much of her writing, and it continues to resonate with me, shaping and impacting my perspective in ways that evolve as I grow older. If that's not the mark of great literature, I don't know what is. Today, I want to dive deeper into one of her essays, Uses of the Erotic as Power. This text challenged me the first few times I read it because I initially couldn't separate the word erotic from its associations with pornography, but we'll get into that. First, it's crucial to define in clear terms what certain words mean, both in general and within the specific context of Lorde's essay. To fully understand her ideas, we must first grasp the motivations behind this powerful piece. In her 1978 essay, Audre Lorde offers an anti-aesthetic challenge to second-wave feminist debates on whether pornography sustains sexual oppression. Rejecting this notion, she advocates for the recognition and affirmation of desire as a means to reclaim women's eroticism from cultural distortion and embrace it as a source of personal power. Lorde argues that when women fully acknowledge their desires, it can blur the boundaries between the erotic and everyday life, fostering a deeper connection to creative and political action. Most importantly, her message transcends identity, calling on all women to unite under this vision as a force for revolutionary change. To begin, let's define anti-aesthetic, not to be confused with aesthetics or aestheticism. An aesthetic is a person who dedicates their life to contemplative ideals and practices extreme self-denial or self-mortification for religious reasons. So an anti-aesthetic in this context is someone who embraces extreme self-denial, which is paramount as we dig deeper into this essay. To embrace the erotic, we must indulge ourselves and follow our passions. So Lorde begins the essay with this opening paragraph, which provides us with the motivation for her writing, that the erotic has been corrupted to perpetuate oppression. There are many kinds of power, used and unused, acknowledged or otherwise. The erotic is a resource within each of us that lies in a deeply female and spiritual plane, firmly rooted in the power of our unexpressed or unrecognized feeling. In order to perpetuate itself, every oppression must corrupt or distort those various sources of power within the culture of the oppressed that can provide energy for change. For women, this has meant a suppression of the erotic as a considered source of power and information within our lives. While Lorde's essay is directed specifically towards women, I find her ideas deeply relevant to my own experience as well. In a society obsessed with toxic productivity, fully embracing and luxuriating in the things that bring us fulfillment and satisfaction often feels devalued. It's as though our joy and passions are only valid if they make us money, help us climb the corporate ladder, or achieve some tangible metric of success. Otherwise, we're told to set those childish things aside and focus on getting serious about life. Regardless of our identities or backgrounds, I think many of us can relate to these pressures. Lorde's work reminds us of the importance of reclaiming and prioritizing the things that bring us true joy and meaning, even in the face of societal expectations. The most important aspect we must understand fully is the word erotic, which Lorde defines as, the very word erotic comes from the Greek word eros, the personification of love in all its aspects, born of chaos and personifying creative power and harmony. When I speak of the erotic, then, I speak of it as an assertion of the life force of women, of that creative energy empowered, the knowledge and use of which we are now reclaiming in our language, our history, our dancing, our loving, our work, our lives. Lorde's definition of the erotic extends far beyond sexual passions, encompassing creative power and harmony. This distinction is crucial because she contrasts the erotic with pornography, which she views as a denial of the erotic's true power. For Lorde, pornography suppresses authentic feeling, prioritizing sensation over genuine connection. It is important to note that I don't believe Lorde's intention is to shame sex workers or those who engage with sex work, such as in the realm of pornography. Rather, she highlights the contrast between these two concepts. Pornography is a fantasy, an external representation of what pleasure looks like, but not necessarily an expression of its deeper reality. This, I think, is what she means by emphasizing sensation without feeling. And to be clear, I am in no way shaming sex work. If you're interested in learning more about its history and context, I highly recommend the work of Dr. Kate Lister, who is an incredible sex historian. Moving beyond abstract ideas, Lorde offers a tangible vision of what engaging with eroticism looks like in practice. By defying societal norms and embracing the passionate joy found in pleasurable experiences, and to be clear, this isn't limited to sex, though it is a part of it, we create space to channel this sense of desire into every other aspect of our lives. And she writes, "The erotic is a measure between the beginnings of our sense of self and the chaos of our strongest feelings. It is an internal sense of satisfaction to which, once we have experienced it, we know we can aspire. For having experienced the fullness of this depth of feeling and recognizing its power, in honor and self-respect, we can require no less of ourselves. It is never easy to demand the most from ourselves, from our lives, from our work. To encourage excellence is to go beyond the encouraged mediocrity of our society, is to encourage excellence. But giving into the fear of feeling and working to capacity is a luxury only the unintentional can afford, and the unintentional are those who do not wish to guide their own destinies. This internal requirement towards excellence, which we learn from the erotic, must not be misconstrued as demanding the impossible from ourselves nor from others. Such a demand incapacitates everyone in the process. For the erotic is not a question only of what we do, it is a question of how acutely and fully we can feel in the doing. Once we know the extent to which we are capable of feeling that sense of satisfaction and completion, we can then observe which of our various life endeavors bring us closest to that fullness. In this passage, Lorde explores how embracing eroticism unlocks our capacity for joy across all areas of life. While this might initially sound like self-help, I view it differently. Lorde reveals how society weaponizes the erotic as a tool of oppression, stripping us of its potential power. This doesn't mean we should expect every experience to be perfectly fulfilling. Perfection is unattainable after all, but we should allow ourselves to embrace moments of genuine satisfaction when they arise. By doing so, we can more deeply engage with our lives and transform even mundane experiences into opportunities for erotic connection. As I mentioned earlier, this is an act of rebellion. And in society, especially in the US, we prioritize profit over people. Reclaiming our sense of purpose and fulfillment is a way to take back a portion of that power. And Lorde explains this by writing, "Of course, women so empowered are dangerous. So we are taught to separate the erotic demand from most vital areas of our lives other than sex. The principal horror of any system which defines the goods in terms of profit rather than in terms of human need, or which defines human need to the exclusion of the psychic and emotional components of that need. The principal horror of such a system is that it robs our work of its erotic value, its erotic power, and a life appeal and fulfillment. Such a system reduces work to a travesty of necessities, a duty by which we earn bread or oblivion for ourselves and those we love. But this is tantamount to blinding a painter and then telling her to improve her work and to enjoy the act of painting. It is not only next to impossible, it is also profoundly cruel. Eroticism is essential to living fully. It empowers us to reshape our environments, no matter the scale of our influence, by focusing on improving both our own lives and the lives of others. When we passively accept harmful systems, we not only perpetuate toxic environments, but also deprive ourselves of genuine happiness and fulfillment. While I understand that our individual power to enact large-scale change is limited, small acts of rebellion still hold significance. Embracing the erotic gives us the clarity and courage to recognize forms of oppression we might have otherwise overlooked, equipping us to challenge and transform them in meaningful ways. And Lorde writes, "Our acts against oppression become integral with self, motivated and empowered from within. In touch with the erotic, I become less willing to accept powerlessness or those other supplied states of being which are not native to me, such as resignation, despair, self-effacement, depression, self-denial. Recognizing the power of the erotic within our lives can give us the energy to pursue genuine change within our world, rather than merely settling for a shift of characters in the same weary drama. For not only do we touch our most profoundly creative source, but we do that which is female and self-affirming in the face of racist, patriarchal, and anti-erotic society." In conclusion, I have to admit I still find it challenging to fully grasp this idea. Intellectually understand what Lorde is saying, but viewing fulfilling activities through an erotic lens feels difficult. As I mentioned earlier, I struggle to separate the concept of eroticism from pornography or explicitly sexual contact. It's hard for me to find comparable satisfaction outside the realm of physical fulfillment. That said, I think this is exactly why Lorde's essay is so important. While I do not analyze and discuss every aspect of this essay, I believe it challenges us to cultivate the same depth of joy and satisfaction from activities that genuinely make us happy, whether that's creating art, recording a podcast episode, or anything else that brings fulfillment, so long as it doesn't harm ourselves or others. Unlearning the conventional definition of a word, especially in such an abstract way, is no small task, but it feels essential for meaningful change, whether on a personal or societal level. Remaining perpetually unsatisfied, always chasing fulfillment from external sources, is at its core a form of oppression. By reclaiming and redefining what brings us joy, we reclaim our power and permanently divorce ourselves from seeking purpose outside of ourselves. Thank you for joining us on Extra Literary Affairs, a lit fiction podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's deep dive. Remember, this series is here to complement our main show, so be sure to listen to get the full context. Until next time, and remember, this is our little secret.